Introduce you to a little dog called Alfie's cousin. Now, Alfie's cousin is not himself a puppy farm dog, but he is a rescue dog. And he's very, very shy. His cousin Alfie was rescued by one of our staunch members, and when he was fostered out, it became immediately evident that this pup required $3,000 worth of veterinary surgery for conditions arising from being raised in a puppy farm and marketed through a pet shop in Adelaide, I might add. So Alfie's cousin would like to represent Alfie today. Alfie turned 1 yesterday and he's living happily in what we call his forever home. And so, happy birthday, Alfie. Everybody's here today for dogs just like you. And Alfie's cousin wants to say, put me down, Mum, I'm shy. So I'll put Alfie's cousin down and I'll introduce our very special guest speakers to you. Probably a really good idea now would also be to introduce myself. I'm Margaret from SA Oscars Law, and we're really, really happy to welcome you all here today, especially furry friends, because to be honest, when the ABC gentleman rang me this morning and said, Margaret, how many people are you expecting? I said, I have no way of knowing, but we're hoping for at least a couple of hundred. I'm no good estimator of numbers, but I sincerely hope that those of you here will spread the word when today is over. What I'd really like to do first is to acknowledge some people without whom today would not have been possible. And what I really want you to understand is that the so-called committee had never really met each other until today. All of this has been done via Facebook, which can be the most toxic, bullying, harassing environment ever known to mankind, but it can also be an absolutely fabulous tool for rescue and for pulling people together for a common cause. So good old Facebook, that's what I say. I want to acknowledge Trudy Elsmore. Trudy, can you wave at people while you're photographing? Thank you, Trudy. Larita Schiller, the wonderful person behind the microphone working, thank goodness. Kelly Lawrence, Kelly down there. And Olivia Letzepis is unfortunately not able to be with us today. Kristen Mitchie, she's right here. And Taryn Clark, who cannot be with us today either. This has been an interesting thing to pull together, and we're here is all I can say. So let's see how we go. The acknowledgements that I'd like to make and I'll just check with Larita that I get Tim's title correct. Tim from All Pro for our sound system. Winston the Bulldog, and I think you can see the girls here in their beautiful green shirts with their naked cat. That is AB4 Pet Supplies and the Anzac Pet Jelly. The Daniel O'Connell Irish Pub, where we are always able to have free meetings and training sessions. Of course, Deborah Tranter, the advertiser, the ABC, Sharon Panchione, who is front and centre, and Sophie Marsden. Where's Sophie? Sophie, down there. There's one important apology, and that is from Dr. Chris Girling from Noah's Crossing Vets. Chris was going to come and speak today on the veterinary aspects of puppy farming. Unfortunately, Chris, as he so charmingly put it to me, his bitch is whelping. And a whelping bitch is not something we want on the steps of Parliament House, so we've let him off for the day. Also like to acknowledge that Nick Xenophon was unable to be here today, but has sent a personal message saying that he's really sorry he couldn't be here, that he wishes us the best, and that he really would like to be kept in touch and involved in future activities. So thanks to Nick Xenophon. The speakers that we... speakers that we do have here today, the Honourable Michelle Lensing, Shadow Minister for the Environment and Deputy Leader in the MLC, Deputy Opposition Leader, sorry. The Honourable Tammy Franks from the SA Greens, Member of the Legislative Council, and Stephen Kenny, who is a Director on the Board of the RSPCA and a very well-known human rights lawyer. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Stephen to you, and he's going to speak to you about the issues as he sees them from the point of view of a rights-focused person and a Director on the Board of the RSPCA. So welcome, Stephen Kenny.
Thank you. And thank you all for coming out. I'll try and stand out there so I can see you all. And it's great to see on a Sunday like today that so many have come along and that so many have actually brought your dogs, which I think is a great thing in our society that we don't have enough of. We don't see enough dogs in public, and it is nice because they are important to us and provide a real balance in our lives that sometimes reminds me of, you know, things that are real and are not real, and animals are really important. But firstly, I'd just like to say that a lot of people don't know about puppy factories, and I did a straw poll around my work before I came here to ask what people really knew about dogs and dogs you buy in pet shops and things like that. And mostly people said, they're not a good idea, but we don't know much about them. And so it's really great to see all of you willing to come out here today to publicise that. But the other thing that concerns me, you know, we think that there really aren't puppy factories in South Australia, and I don't know whether there are or there aren't, but what I discovered in my own office was that people were buying dogs from pet shops that had come from puppy factories, and this was a real concern to me. And I'll tell you the story of Baxter, one of the women at work bought, and she lives down at Semaphore, and walked past the pet shop down to a local coffee shop. And she wasn't looking to buy a dog, but she noticed Baxter in the window and was a very small puppy. But what she also noticed was that Baxter had an obvious hernia, that after a week or so she realised that the pet shop owner wasn't doing anything about. And so she went in there and effected her own rescue. She bought the dog and took it immediately to a vet. Now she knew nothing about factories, puppy factories or anything like that, and had no idea. She went to the vet and said, look, this dog's got a problem. And the vet said, oh yes, probably come from a puppy factory. She said, well, what do you mean? And she discovered that not only did he have the hernia, his teeth were also clear. They were not solid. The dog had not had sufficient milk when it was a baby. And when she got the dog home, she realised the dog also had sort of ongoing personality problems. It was scared of everything. It was shy. It was quite neurotic. And these are all of the effects that we see in puppy farms, and they are something that we need to avoid. So, my message, I've got several messages, but one of them is talk to people around you who are looking for animals. Tell them not to go to the pet shops, because mostly those dogs have probably come from some puppy factory, even if they come from Victoria or Queensland, where we think this one, where Baxter came from. Don't buy there. They don't need to. You can go to the RSPCA or other, you know, animal rescue services that do have dogs that you can adopt. And they've been well cared for there and loved and looked after. This is not actually an industry that we need, so we can well do without it, and certainly the dogs can as well. And so that's the message that I'd like you to take away. You know, when people are talking about dogs, warn people about those, because once the pet shop owners realise that they're not profitable, they now look at other options. And the RSPCA have been talking about, you know, trying to work with the pet shop owners not to have pets stuck in cages in their shops, but to have, you know, perhaps videos of dogs that you can then go and see at your local shelter. And so we need to advance more on those sorts of things. And the other message I have for you is that although it'd be great to have some specific legislation banning the farming of dogs in this manner, in the meantime, there are things you can do. And the RSPCA is the government-appointed body for the prosecution of cruelty against animals. And so, if you are aware of a puppy factory in South Australia, ring the RSPCA, tell them that there is a puppy factory at a particular place and that the dogs are being poorly treated. And the RSPCA is not after dog breeders or people who care for their animals. They're not there, but they are there to protect animals. That's what their role is. So if you notify them, their inspectors will go and investigate the matter. And if they find that dogs are being ill-treated, they will prosecute them. And there's been a lot of high-profile prosecutions from the RSPCA, and the RSPCA is becoming more active, particularly in the area of farmed animals, so that they are taking a broader role than perhaps they have traditionally. But it is the role that the government has appointed them to do, and they will follow it up. So if you've not got any puppy factories in South Australia or even elsewhere, report them to the RSPCA and get the RSPCA to go and investigate it. They will do that, and they will prosecute. So we all can do something about it. So I'd just like to thank you for coming, and to remember, if they are, your friends are looking for animals, suggest the RSPCA or other animal welfare agencies, and if you become aware of puppy factories, tell the RSPCA, because all around Australia, they are the bodies that are appointed to prosecute animal cruelty, and they will do it, and we will see that they do it. Thank you very much for coming.